Heart transplant saves the life of 4-month-old baby girl. Route for Cross-Harbour Rail Bridge could be changed. The U.S. sets up China House to focus on dealing with Beijing. Welcome to TVB News. We begin with some heartwarming news tonight with a young life saved. A 4-month-old baby girl suffering from heart failure received an organ transplant donated from the mainland today. That life-saving arrangement has marked the very first of its kind between Hong Kong and the mainland. Jackie Lin reports.
Brought back from the brink of death was baby girl Cleo Lai Zihei. The 4-month-old received a heart organ donated from a brain-dead toddler on the mainland who passed away yesterday after a severe head injury. The operation wrapped up successfully in the small hours this morning at Hong Kong Children's Hospital. It also marked the smallest heart ever transplanted in the SAR.
We all understand that in order to accomplish this task, it is not easy at all, because it is very difficult to identify a suitable heart to be transplanted into a 4-month-old girl in Hong Kong. And so that's why, out of goodwill, the National Health Commission, they use their robust mechanism and help to identify the right organ for our 4-month-old child, and we should be grateful to that.
Zihei has struggled to stay alive from dilated cardiomyopathy, a condition that makes it harder for the heart to pump blood around the body. Given her urgent condition, the hospital authorities said the SAR government reached out to the National Health Commission to help look for a suitable donor. That child donor on the mainland also found no suitable recipient up north for the heart organ. For now, Zihei will continue to stay in the intensive care unit and still requires cardiotonic drugs and a ventilator. Authorities say the progress is within expectations and her condition now is satisfactory. Her parents thanked the selfless love of the donor's parents, who gave their own daughter a second chance to live. Authorities are not ruling out approving more organ transplants donated from the mainland in the future, perhaps a first step for more lives saved, made possible by less red tape. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Now, the chief executive John Lee said in his social media page that the success of the operation represents a great medical achievement and reflects the brilliance and selflessness of humanity. He says the operation presented great challenge in terms of both the logistics in transporting the organ and the surgery itself. He thanked the central government and the various departments in Hong Kong for accomplishing the meaningful task. The city reported 15,774 new COVID cases today, slightly more than yesterday. 62 infections were reported in care homes for the elderly and disabled. 9 schools had to suspend certain classes, 6 cases involving the XBB strain, 8 cases involving the BQ.1.1 subvariant, and 1 more BF.7 variant strain case were reported. 24 COVID patients died, taking the death toll to 10,918 during the 5th wave of the pandemic. Meanwhile, the mainland logged 2,229 new locally acquired COVID cases. Responding to Google's refusal to ensure the Chinese national anthem appears top of search results for certain keywords, Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration Warner Chuk said the tech giant's decision was unacceptable. Chuk also said that he expected a rise in penalty fees for the illegal disposal of garbage and shop extensions to be implemented in the middle of next year. Timothy Lee tells us more.
After a series of mistakes at international sporting events involving the national anthem, the government asked Google to adjust its search engine to place the correct anthem as the top search result, a request that was denied. Google said it would not manually manipulate search results. Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration Warner Chuk said today Google's response was unacceptable and would challenge its decision again in the near future.
如果你付費咧，其實佢係可以嘅。
Chuk said the situation involves a moral issue, and he noted the search engine results could be changed if payments are made. He questioned if the company would make the same decision if the issue pertained to the American national anthem. Meanwhile, the government has proposed a raise in penalty fees for the illegal dumping of waste and shop extensions, from the current $1,500 to $3,000 and $6,000 respectively. Partially attributing the change to inflation, Church emphasized that the rise in penalties reflected the authorities' priority in cleaning up the city's streets. He expected the new policy to be rolled out in the middle of next year. Church said that raising the penalty fee for the illegal dumping of waste and shop extensions is a reasonable decision as the acts concern environmental hygiene. He noted that the number of shop extensions have reduced since the city's sanitation laws have been more strictly enforced, and believes that a rise in fines would act as a further deterrent. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Under the Lantau Tomorrow vision, the government is planning to build a fifth cross-harbour railway. It's understood the government is considering a change to its route. Government sources say the route will start from Hongshui-Q instead of from the River Trade Terminal in Tuen Mun. It will then link up Siu Lam and Hong Kong Island. The railway will connect the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link between Hongshui-Q and Qianhai-Shenzhen. But lawmaker Michael Tian says the possible change ignored the needs of 500,000 residents in Tuen Mun who could benefit from the original route. The U.S. State Department has launched its long-planned China House Unit, a reorganization of its internal units that deal with China in a wide range of areas. Nazvi Karim reports.
When President Xi Jinping met U.S. President Joe Biden during the Group of 20 summit in Bali last month, the American leader vowed to enhance communications with Beijing amid tensions over trade and Taiwan. One of the first major moves by Washington since that meeting was the launch of the Office of China Coordination, also known as China House. Blinken presided over the official opening of the unit, noting that it would ensure the United States is able to responsibly manage competition with China.
We launched China House because we recognize that the scale, scope, and stakes of strategic competition with the People's Republic of China requires us to think, collaborate, and act in new ways. It will be integrated department-wide. It'll be an integrated department-wide center empowered to lead in the development and implementation of China policy. China House is a key part of Secretary Blinken's modernization agenda that will help our diplomats meet the challenge of the 21st century.
China House will bring together China experts from throughout the department to coordinate with every regional bureau and experts in international security, economics, technology, multilateral diplomacy, and strategic communications, a statement quoted Blinken as saying. The Biden administration has laid out a strategy to compete with China, which is focused on investing in U.S. competitiveness and aligning with allies and partners. The two countries have worked to steady relations rocked by a series of recent U.S. moves, which include an August visit to Taiwan by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, to which Beijing responded with large-scale military drills. China has repeatedly insisted that the bilateral relationship between Beijing and Washington should be based on mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and a win-win formula. Beijing has said it does not fear competition, but it is against suppression in the name of competition. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Still ahead on tonight's news. Chilly weather is expected to get even colder. Controversy over Twitter's suspension of reporters' accounts. And a look at the harsh conditions in Ukraine amid continued Russian attacks. Welcome back to TVB News. With the cold weather warning still in force, the mercury dropped to around 10 Celsius in most districts today. The observatory expects the temperature will further fall to 8 Celsius tomorrow morning in urban areas. Timothy Lee has more.
With the cold weather, Hong Kong residents have wrapped up when going out with down coats, beanies, even this puppy wore a vest. Despite the cold temperature, some Hong Kongers still kept their morning exercise routine at the seaside in Kennedy Town. This jogger said today that it is cold and windy, and he feels chilly as he has just started to run. This woman said she has experienced 2 to 3 degrees Celsius temperature in the past, so for now, 8 to 9 degrees Celsius is fine. Under the impact of a strong winter monsoon, the temperature was between 10 to 13 Celsius in most districts, but it will be 10 degrees Celsius tonight in urban areas. Temperature in the new territories will be even lower. The observatory said the temperature will further fall to around 8 to 9 degrees Celsius tomorrow and Monday. The weather will be sunny and dry. With strong northerly winds blowing this morning, the wind was at gale force. The Cheongkwon Cross Bay Link was closed to cyclists and pedestrians after its debut a week ago. Road traffic was allowed, but with a speed limitation of under 50 kilometers per hour. Meanwhile, at a construction site in Mingfeng Street of Wangtai-sin, a scaffold was damaged by the strong winds. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The 2022 Legislative Council Election Committee constituency by-election will be held tomorrow. Electoral Affairs Commission Chairman David Locke was at the Convention and Exhibition Centre to inspect the polling stations today. He noted that the votes will be counted within a reasonable time frame. More than 1,000 members of the election committee will vote for 4 out of the 6 candidates. They will fill in the vacancies in the LegCo Election Committee constituency left by Horace Chung, Alice Mack, Sun Dong and Nelson Lam. The voting period will last from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. tomorrow. Overseas now, in the U.S., Elon Musk reinstated the Twitter accounts of some journalists that were suspended for a day over a controversy on publishing data about the billionaire's plane. The suspensions drew criticism from the United Nations, saying it sets a dangerous precedent. Tracy Furness has more.
Elon Musk's suspension of several journalists who cover Twitter has widened the rift between the social media site and some news organizations. A number of reporters with New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, Voice of America and other news agencies saw their accounts go dark Thursday. Journalist Aaron Rupert said his Twitter account was suspended for violating rules. He was left guessing as to why.
In the hours that followed, I had a number of reporters who were in touch with me, some of whom kind of pieced together that it seemed like beyond being critics of Elon, the one thing that all of us had in common was that we had linked to the Facebook page tracking his private jets.
The account suspensions followed Musk's decision Wednesday to permanently ban an account that automatically traced the flights of his private jet using publicly available data. This led Twitter to change its rules for all users to prohibit the sharing of another person's current location without their consent. Musk tweeted, "Criticizing me all day long is totally fine, but doxing my real-time location and endangering my family is not." United Nations said Twitter's move sets a dangerous precedent.
We're very disturbed by the arbitrary suspension of accounts of journalists that we saw on Twitter. Media voices should not be silenced on a platform that professes to be a space for freedom of speech. From our standpoint, the move sets a dangerous precedent at a time when journalists all over the world are facing censorship, physical threats, and even worse.
Meanwhile, one of Musk's many other companies, SpaceX, launched 2 satellites as part of a mission to medium Earth orbit from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
In the UK, British Airways and Virgin Atlantic will limit ticket sales for flights to London's Heathrow Airport during planned strikes by border agents over Christmas and New Year's Eve. This is to reduce disruption, the airline said. UK Border Force workers at several major British airports, including Heathrow, will go on strike for 8 days this month in a dispute over pay. This threatens to slow the processing of passengers arriving from abroad during the holidays. The strike from December 23rd to 26th and 28th to 31st comes at one of the busiest times for airlines. This as Eurostar, an international rail operator, said that it would not operate services on December 26th between Britain and France due to a national rail strike that day. Amazon workers in Coventry, central England, are also set to walk out in the new year in a dispute over pay. North Koreans today commemorated the 11th anniversary of former leader Kim Jong-il's death. In a video provided by the North's official news agency KCNA, residents and soldiers are seen offering flowers at the foot of the bronze statues of Kim Jong-il and the state's founder Kim Il-sung in Pyongyang. Kim Jong-il is believed to have died due to medical conditions exacerbated by a heart attack on December 17, 2011. Earlier this week, Kim Jong-il's son and the country's current leader, Kim Jong-un, oversaw a high-thrust solid fuel test, which experts say would allow a quicker and more mobile launch of ballistic missiles. Hundreds of Japanese residents protested on Thursday in Tokyo against government's intentions to increase defense spending. Protesters held banners with slogans showing their protest against the expansion of government forces and against constitutional amendment and wars. The protests came before the cabinet passed the revision of 3 security documents yesterday. Public opinion in Japan said the move will worsen relations with neighboring countries and fuel an arms race. It is written in the documents that Japan will have the so-called counterattack capability of attacking missile launching bases in other countries. An expert told China's CCTV that the move is very dangerous. He added it means Japan will move from a defensive strategy to an offensive one, which is worthy of vigilance. In Ukraine, an intense new Russian bombardment of Kiev and other cities left most residents in the capital without power or water in sub-freezing temperatures. This report from NBC News.
Tonight, Russian strikes narrowly missing terrified drivers on a Ukrainian highway. Part of a massive Russian bombardment, at least 76 missiles, according to Ukraine, the majority fired at Kyiv. Russia again targeting Ukraine's energy infrastructure, taking out power and heat during a frigid winter. In Poltava, doctors finished a heart operation amid a blackout. Much of this neighborhood is dark, but this school is a refuge with heat, electricity, and internet. It's one of thousands of what Ukraine calls points of invincibility, safety and humanitarian shelters located throughout Ukraine. Darka is among those finding some relief. She and her husband are expecting a baby girl.
I am on 8 months pregnant.
And Russia's persistent attacks on the power grid are forcing them to prepare for the possibility of a delivery in the dark.
I even know, now I learned how to have delivery in a shelter. And I don't know what I'm going to do.
She's thought about leaving, but her husband, like all men of military age here, would not be able to go with her.
I don't want to leave my husband. I just live day by day.
Ukraine's President Zelensky continues to ask allies for more robust air defenses. U.S. defense officials tell NBC News the administration is close to finalizing plans to provide Ukraine with a Patriot missile system.
Every year, the Santa Claus post office in Finnish Lapland receives hundreds of thousands of letters from children outlining their Christmas wishes. This winter wonderland is billed as Santa's home, with an on-site post office where visitors can send their Christmas cards stamped with a special Arctic Circle postmark. They get hundreds of thousands of letters from around the world, and this year, some youngsters are writing about their fears of the war in Ukraine.
Good afternoon, Santa Claus. My name is Petra, and I have a sister. Her name is Stefania. I am 6 years old, and my sister is 2.5. We used to live in Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, but now because of war, we live in Western Ukraine. Please give peace to Ukraine. We love our country very much.
The Santa Claus village is just outside the capital of Finnish Lapland. Around 500,000 children write to Santa with their Christmas wish lists every year. To sports now, this year's cyclothon will be held tomorrow morning across the city in locations including Tsim Sha Tsui and West Kowloon. This as Hong Kong's first mountain bike training ground began operations today. Located in Lantau South Country Park in Mui Wo, the training ground spans 4.5 hectares and contains several challenging obstacles for cyclists. The premises also contain a bike trail that stretches for 9 kilometers. As part of the expansion of the mountain bike trail network in South Lantau, the project cost around $40 million. To encourage further development of the training ground and sustainability of the area, the facility used local natural materials for its construction. That is the news for tonight. Thank you for joining us.